I want to talk about emerging from misfortunes and disasters. And after I talk about it a little, I'll share some stories from my own to give examples, and because I really like stories. But the basic point, it's a little like making lemonade out of lemons, but it goes deeper than that. It involves not suffering about your suffering and keeping your eyes open and your intent nimble to create opportunities out of the situation. And this turns it into a play between you and the universe of how the universe is going to unfold this situation to you so that it actually blesses you and enhances you and empowers you and maybe makes your situation better. Like every time something disastrous happens to me, I enter into this relationship with the event and the universe of, what does this have for me? What can I learn from this? How can I move through this in a way that recognizes what's in it for me? And how can my life be, I have to be open to something even better, something more aligned with my present now. And let me give a few examples. Sometimes we prejudge how bad something is. For many, many years, I'm gonna use some trivial examples, okay? But for many, many years, I used to want to ride a motorcycle up into the Himalayas to this high pilgrimage shrine. And I made a point going to India once where I had a motorcycle and I was gonna do this. And on like day one, I was coming around a corner and the bike slid in some gravel and the road had been halfway lost in the monsoon, and there was a big truck coming my way, and I went down and broke my leg. And that pilgrimage was lost, and some Indian friends took me to the hospital, and the doctor said, you have to spend 7 or 8 weeks in bed. You can't leave the bed except to go to the bathroom. And I was like, oh. And even in being in bed was excruciating because I had things with my ribs too, and I watched myself heal like 1% a day or less. But I watched this, and I had to hole up in this hotel room near where my best friend was, like elderly Indian man, had a shop, and he would come down and meditate with me like every day, and he was such a dear friend. And I recognized I wouldn't have had this opportunity to be so close and so intimate with him if I wasn't like laid up in bed, 10 minutes, not even 10, 2 minutes from his shop. And so this was a beautiful experience. And then when I was allowed to get out of bed, I thought, well, it's the wrong season to go to the Himalayas. How can I get back on the horse and also rehabilitate my leg? I could barely walk. So I'm going to ride my motorcycle from here in the Himalayas to the end of India. It's like thousands and thousands of kilometers. And it kind of works because I overcome this hardship, and I'm sitting on the bike all day, so I'm not on my legs. All I have to do is walk to dinner and back and rehab my bike a little. And I did it. I spent a few weeks just going across India, seeing beautiful, amazing spots that I never wanted to go down the middle of India, but I saw all these places that I should have seen, and wound up in Goa, where I rehabilitated my leg by going to ecstatic dance every day until it hurt. And then I went to bed and I did it all over again. By the time I left, my leg was pretty good, and I thought, I'm just going to keep going. And I went all the way to the end of India, and I had this most epic journey of my life. And it was all because I broke my leg. And the friend who I sat with every day in my hotel room, he died a few years later. And I give thanks for how much closer we became during that time. So another one. I I live in Yosemite National Park for my alleged adult life, and for the last 22 years of it, I had this amazing, beautiful cabin right on the South Fork of the Merced River. It was like inexplicably cheap. The landowner just wanted somebody in it, and I loved this place. And I knew I would never voluntarily leave this place, but I knew I would have to be kicked out by circumstances if I was ever to change my life. And during the pandemic, I spent some really intimate time there. And when somebody took me to the airport to Bali, I said, well, maybe this was me kissing this place goodbye, being so close to it. And later, I got a text on my, around Christmas time, New Year something. I got a text, email that said, your house got destroyed, a giant tree fell through it. And it was like, well, I guess this is the time. And the tree fell right across my bed. So if I would have been able to sleep through this raging storm, I would have been squashed and not giving you this video. And would I have been better off? Probably. It might have been just bliss to be dead, but I'm saving it to last. So I survived that, and I went back and dug what I could later out of my cabin storage, put it in storage. But when I was riding through town, after it was all done, I recognized that like this place where I loved so much, I flowed through my veins, this place, I was Yosemite. Like it wasn't this place for me to spend the rest of my life. People were always coming and going. There was no real community. I didn't have like a close friend closer than an hour away. I'd have to go to festivals and go to India or different places to be with my people. And now I was with my people. After that happened, it was the pandemic, and there was great prices on long-term leases in Bali with its amazing aloha people and less tropical world, and like an expat community, really like spiritual and festive. I got really blessed by moving here, and it wouldn't have happened if my house didn't fall down. One last example, because burning is a thing, and before my house fell down, it was threatened by burning every year. I would get evacuated, and I thought, wow, maybe when my house fell down, it'd save me from being burned. But a few years earlier, I had this camper van. I was loaded it up with all my best stuff and all my phones, computers, cameras, everything, and my festive stuff, because I was going to go away for 6 months in India, and I was going to go to some amazing New Year's party in the way. And just a mile from my house, I somehow drove off the road. The van turned over. I woke up, looked behind me, and there was a fire. And I couldn't get out, but the window was broken in front, so I crawled through the window. I was totally unhurt. And I crawled up back to the road because my van its nose was in the river, and watched the fire department put it out for a little bit, and then they took me home, and I dug stuff out of it the next day to see what I could salvage. And I went to India anyway after I, got things in line. And I had some extra stuff. I was okay. I lost sentimental stuff, but I realized someday I'm going to have to let go of this whole body. And same thing when my house fell down. I'm going to have to let go of this whole body. I'm just going to have to let go of some stuff earlier here. And so I went to India, and somehow I got a good deal on that van. Talked to insurance. They gave me twice what I paid for it. I bought got a really great deal on a van in Texas that I flew back from India and picked it up. It was like 10 times better than the van that burned. And it didn't cost me that much money to switch. So don't suffer in advance. You're going to, grieve your loss. But don't suck on the story like until the suffering about it becomes something you think you need to do. And that goes with a lot of our losses that we, like somebody we love, maybe they're 90 years old and they died peacefully. And it's like, that may be this greatest relief, this greatest release. It's either that or they're not suffering anymore and it's going to happen to all of us. How much do you think they want you to suffer over it or feel like you need to suffer over it? Feel the love in your grief. If you have loss, feel the love in it. But take that opportunity to feel the love. Don't latch onto it and make this loss your identity. It's not good for you. It's not good for anybody. And some people feel like survivor's guilt, like they need to carry it to honor the person. Honor them by sending them on their way with all your love. And while we're on the subject, this goes for heartbreak too. There's love in heartbreak. Your heart is open. Don't become closed and unfeeling because of it. But when something's triggered in you, whether it's betrayal or loss or rejection, that's the time to do the emotional healing in those feelings that get triggered. When something gets triggered, it gives you a window to work on something within yourself that you ordinarily don't have access to. And you really don't want to need it to be triggered again. So when something is hurting, when something is being triggered within you, look within and see if there's a core wound, if this is a repeating pattern, if this speaks to something that goes beyond those circumstances, and make that opportunity out of that too. So if somehow this is reaching you, and I'm sure your loss is probably greater than these ones I mentioned, I feel for you and with you. And I also encourage you to, when you're ready, make a deal with yourself and the universe to get every opportunity, every wisdom, every empowerment, and every insight you can out of whatever you're going through. Don't make it your identity, but live it in a beautiful way as much as you can. Share your heart with others affected in the process.